You are listening to Mining Stock Education, where you'll learn from the top leaders in the natural resource sector and uncover quality mining investment opportunities.
Thank you for tuning in to Mining Stock Education. I'm your host, Bill Powers, and in today's show, we're going to be getting an overview of First Majestic Silver Corp. About once a year, since I started this show, I reach out to Keith Neumeyer, its founder, president, and CEO, to talk about the silver market, as well as to get an update on one of the silver investors' market darlings, that is First Majestic Silver. It trades on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker AG, and also on the big board in Toronto under the ticker FR. Keith, welcome back onto the show.
Well, it's great seeing you again, Bill, and thanks for the opportunity.
Let's start off by talking about the silver market in general. As we look back on 2020, what are some of the key metrics, trends, all-in sustaining costs that resource investors should be aware of?
Well, geez, it was a pretty interesting year, 2020, as everyone knows. It was some of the most extreme volatility I think the markets have experienced, at least since 2018 and even 2015 or 2016. But we started the year off pretty aggressively with a big capital investment program scheduled for Mexico. We started the year off around $17 or $18 silver, if I remember correctly. And silver plunged with the rest of the market all the way down to around $12 in March of 2020. I knew it wouldn't last. I actually went into the market and bought a couple of million ounces of silver because I just thought it was so cheap. And we also suspended our sales of silver as well. So we not only made money on the trade of the futures market, but we also made money by delaying about 1 million ounces of sales until the third quarter, when prices resumed its uptick and broke through $20 an ounce. And silver, lo and behold, hit $29 an ounce, surprising everyone in August of 2020. And it settled down a little bit, of course. We're in the $25 range, but it's sure different than it was back a year ago. So we're pretty happy with the gold price, the silver price. I'm a bull. I think the metals are going a lot higher, but we ended the year off, with a challenging Q2 because of the COVID and the disruptions there. We lost a couple of million ounces of production. We came in with a projection of somewhere around 24 million ounces of silver equivalent production for 2020. We came in at about 22 million, purely related to COVID. But we ended the year Q3, Q4 off on a very strong note. And we actually ended the year with record amount of cash in the bank of just under $240 million.
So with you're in one company, one metal is one of the themes or monikers of the company. Was Mexico affected as much as Peru, or was it affected less in terms of the decrease in silver output?
Yeah, I think it was, it'd be interesting to see what the actual numbers are at the end of the day, because I haven't seen the final export numbers from those countries. But it appears to me, just from what I understand, that Argentina and Peru were hit harder on a percentage basis of total production, just because they had their mines shut down for a longer period of time. Mexico only really had a shutdown for about 6 weeks, and Mexico deemed mining essential. Just like Canada did, and Argentina and Peru did not do that. So they had extended shutdowns, and some of the other miners, of course, had some challenges with reopening their operations. But we had pretty well everything back up and running by Q3. Our team acted pretty swiftly. It's pretty tough to tell 500 workers or 600 workers just to go home, and it's still carrying maintenance. You've got pumps you have to keep running. There's, you got to keep electricity going. You can't just walk away from a big industrial complex because stuff will go wrong, and there could be serious issues. So you have to leave a minimum workforce there for maintenance. And so the workforce I actually never went down to zero, but the government did do the right thing, and they did deem mining as essential, which was great for Mexico, and we're able to get our mines back up and running.
Are you still the largest pure silver producer in the world?
No, I don't think we've ever been the largest pure silver producer. When you say that,
on a percentage basis of production for a major,
right? Yes, yeah, okay. From a revenue base, yes, we still are. Just a little, approximately 60% of our revenue comes from the sale of silver, 40% gold. We're in a great position where we only produce two metals, silver and gold. If you go back to 2017, when we had 7 mines operating, we produced lead, zinc, and silver and gold. And producing lead and zinc, there's really no money in it, and it's a losing proposition unless you are a very large producer, where you can actually get decent deals with the smelters. But as a small lead or zinc producer, a small miner will never make money in that marketplace. So we shut those mines down that were producing concentrate, and we're just focused on dory bars. So all 3 mines produce silver and gold dory bars, which is a great thing.
Are you looking to divest any of your projects? I know you've done that in past years. Would that be a way to kind of trim and make the company more streamlined?
Yeah, for sure. It takes 2 to tango, obviously, and we've got a pretty interesting portfolio of assets that are on the sales block, but at the same time, we don't want to give them away. These were at one point in First Majestic's history, pretty big assets. La Paria was a 3.5 million ounce producer. Del Toro was a 2.5 million ounce producer. La Guitarra, a 2 million ounce producer. San Martin, another 2 million ounce producer. So these are nice assets in a junior company, and they could actually really make a new company if someone would ever decided to purchase them. But for us, we have to look at bigger things, because for us to move the needle now at the size of our business, it doesn't do us any good to have a 1 million ounce producer. Right, but for a junior, it might be fantastic for them to have that, and we offer a portfolio to those who want to look at them. But on the M&A front, we're quite active, looking around the world, and for nice chunky assets to add to our portfolio.
Keith, can you delve a little more into that? What would be the profile of what you'd want to acquire? Would it only be a producer or like a late stage development project?
Definitely can't be an exploration company, because I think it's just too low down the spectrum. But it could be a development company that has proven ounces, that has most likely fully permitted, that doesn't require a lot of extra time for permitting. It could have a couple holes in it, but further advanced the better. Producing asset would be obviously the best. But they're hard to find, because your question earlier about the purity of our revenue, it's something that we take very dear to our heart. And I don't want to become a gold company, or at least not on the long term. So we're always looking for ways of keeping our silver purity, and finding silver mines is a pretty difficult thing. And you probably heard me say many times that we're only mining, as an industry, for every 1 ounce of gold, we're only mining 8 ounces of silver. And that's a pretty shocking statistic. It shows you that silver is much more rare than people think it is. And finding a good silver mine is very difficult.
We'll be right back after this word from our sponsor. Silver One Resources is an exploration and development company backed by strategic investors Eric Sprott and SSR Mining. At Silver One's Candelaria Mine project in Nevada, there is already a historic resource estimated at 127 million ounces of silver, which Silver One is developing and advancing. The company's Phoenix Silver project, located within the Arizona Silver Belt, is an early-stage exploration project on which native silver vein fragments have been discovered near surface. One grab sample assayed an astounding 14,688 ounces per ton. Yes, that's right, ounces, not grams. Silver One has tremendous exploration potential, is extremely leveraged to the price of silver, and is cashed up and poised to increase shareholder value. Silver One trades in New York under the ticker SLVRF and in Toronto under the ticker SVE. To learn more, go to silverone.com. That's silverone.com.
One of the growth strategies of a lot of gold producers, and Equinox stands out at that with Ross Beatty, what he's done in the last 2 years, these at-the-market mergers of existing producers. There's so few silver producers. Is that even in the realm of possibility for your growth?
Well, as I said earlier, it takes 2 to tango. We know the space quite well. I don't need to sit here and name names, but there's a handful of companies that we know, we're close to, we talk to. But at the same time, it's I think the mining executives, they're very resilient individuals who have been able to weather multiple cycles over the last 30 years. And most of them are my age, and then we've all lived through the last several cycles, and we're all very optimistic that we're in a pretty powerful cycle that's going to go for another at least 3 to 5 years. And I just think that there's a view out there that a lot of people want to ride that cycle, and it's really putting a slowdown on M&A. And also, I think the whole conference circuit as well has really negatively impacted the M&A activity in the business, because we would all get together as an industry several times throughout the year at these different mining conferences, and we would meet up and have casual discussions and have a beer or two, and and it's surprising how many fruitful discussions take place in those types of casual types of meetings that are non-scheduled. They just happen. You can't do that in today's environment. You're not going to schedule a Zoom call with CEO of ABC just to enter into an M&A discussion. It's just not going to happen, right? It's just, so it does make things a lot more difficult.
I understand the point about silver CEOs wanting a payday in this up cycle, but isn't the principle that even a retail investor could see that 1 + 1 = 3 when you do a lot of these at the market mergers? So why couldn't a CEO also see that if your average retail investor could see that?
Bill, you have to really ask the other CEOs. Look, I'm a finance guy. I'm not a geologist. I'm not an engineer. That's the way I think, right? And that's how I built this business. I put First Majestic together by buying stuff. We've never really developed anything from scratch. I guess Del Toro was somewhat built by scratch, but at least we knew there was an ore body there. Ermitaño was a maiden discovery, so that's at Santa Elena. So that's I guess an exception. But in most cases, we bought stuff that is already producing or close to producing and built this business to what it is today. And that's my comfort zone. That's what I like to do.
Okay. The short position on your company is quite large. And I was kind of shocked recently where I saw a Silver Bull recommend to his subscribers shorting your company. What can you share with us about the short position on First Majestic?
Yeah, it's hard to really understand why it's so high. It could just be pure liquidity. The stock, people should call Todd Anthony, our VP Corporate Development, and have this discussion with him because he's more on top of this stuff than I am. But, the stock trades something like its entire issued outstanding shares every quarter. It actually sometimes trades twice its outstanding shares in every quarter. So it's one of the most liquid mining stocks on the planet, and it's got such a high beta to silver, like it moves like crazy when silver prices move. So it's just this darling of these traders that trade this stock because they can get in and out of it very quickly, and they have a view on silver, or they're maybe positive or negative, or they buy another silver stock that they view as cheaper than us on a multiple of some nature, and so they short us and go long the other one. So they use it as a hedge against their other portfolio positions. We don't know exactly, what's driving the short position, but it is extremely high. Like the company has always had a relatively high short position of anywhere between 10 and 15% over the last decade. And it's just been there. It's just this natural, whatever it is. And then at end of December 31st, 2020, we had an 18% short position, which of course, got our attention and goes, this is interesting. New shorts coming in. And look, silver prices had rallied from, 15 to 25. So maybe just people have a view that maybe silver is going to correct because we're going to go into a recession in 2021, and maybe copper prices, silver prices will get dragged down. So people maybe take a negative view on that. I think it's nonsense myself, but who knows what these hedge funds do. And, then lo and behold, the January 15th short report comes out, and the short position is 23%. It's never been that high before, and it's pretty hard to imagine, because the risk on that, you have $30 silver, which I think is going to happen in 2021, and this stock is going to, I shouldn't, I assume I shouldn't make too bold statements, but I would assume the stock would do quite well in an environment like that. So I surely would not want to short First Majestic in an environment like this, because I think we're going into a very high inflationary environment where copper and silver prices will see dramatic increases over the next couple of years.
Keith, you issued a dividend policy, which kind of took me by surprise as an observer because your business is so capital intensive. Many people look at silver as a speculation, not an investment. So can you elaborate more on why you did that rather than just holding on to the capital for the purposes of M&A and acquisitions and growth through that means?
Well, I guess for one thing, the shorts will have to cut a check, right? So it makes their short position a little bit more expensive. That's one reason for doing it. But the other reason for doing it is just the cash flows. We almost started paying a dividend in 2012. Thank goodness we didn't start because we might have had to have stopped, unfortunately, just because of what happened in the marketplace over the next 5-6 years. But, I think we're going to go into a long-term sustainable market here. And I think we could easily have a, good, strong 5-year bull market. We're maybe longer if we're lucky. And we're going to be generating a lot of cash. And I think it's about time we return some cash to shareholders. And, there are institutions out there, believe it or not, that won't buy a stock that does not pay a dividend. It's not a huge group. Most people that buy mining stocks don't buy mining stocks for a dividend, but there are some. So it's just, adding to our basically list of potential investors in the institutional world that has that requirement. And it's just one more box to check if you're going to look at First Majestic. Why should I buy it? And that's a question that comes up. So we're now starting that.
Are you thinking about launching another mining company before your career is over? I was thinking about this. Ross Beatty seems like he can't retire. You're expecting a silver upcycle, but you have one more company up your sleeve?
I'm always investing in startups. My risk tolerance for the mining sector is probably higher than most. And, I am a seed investor in a variety of different companies and like to help management out. I'm just seeding a company right now called Snowline Gold. It's not public yet, but it'll be public on the CSC in the next 30 days, I hope. And we got Paul Matisik, Quinton Henning involved in that. We've got Nick Matisik, Paul's son, as the CEO. We've got Scott Pradell as the COO. With his father, put together this huge gold portfolio of exploration assets in the Yukon, super high grade, super sexy portfolio. So I'm super excited about that. But look, Silver One is a company that I'm heavily invested in as well. I helped seed that company, 5 years ago now. And I've still remained a very substantial shareholder of that company. So, I go after management teams, because it's really comes down to management at the end of the day, how these things actually survive, because they need to survive during the downturns. And you need management teams that knows how to pull back, know how to stop spending money, know how to keep the lights on. And it's a skill that, some people simply, don't get. And, you have a lot of these small little startups that, blow their share caps up at the bottom of the market. And next thing you know, they've got, 1 billion shares outstanding because they didn't raise the money at the right time, when the bull cycle was there. So it's a bit of an art, but it's a sector that I love and a sector that I'll continue to support. But me putting my name on another company, I've got First Mining Gold, which I'm the chairman of and the founder, a great gold portfolio in Ontario. People should look at it. And of course, First Majestic Silver, my full-time job, which takes, which I've got a whole passion for, takes up most of my time.
All right. Well, Keith, thank you for coming on Mining Stock Education today. I'll put a link to First Majestic in the show notes, and you should already know the tickers if you're invested in this sector. It's FR in Toronto and AG in New York. Keith, thanks again.
Thanks, Bill. Great interview. Appreciate it.